The Sound and Spirit Artist Link Extra. Krystal Lewis.
I think the first time I sang on stage, I was 4. And my mom says she dragged me onto the stage because I loved doing it at home. And all of a sudden, I got stage fright and made me do it. And I was so mad. And then she said, of course, she couldn't get me off the stage after that. So, it was one of those strange things.
Lord, I believe in you. I'll always believe in you. Though I can't see you with my eyes, deep in my heart, your presence I find. Lord, I believe in you. For such a time as this, isn't it much too great a risk? I've never flown from the edge of a cliff, never walked on the water. But if I turn away, how will I know what I have missed? Have I waited all of my life for such a time as this? It's death for my life, God and I, God and I. If apart from Him, I know I would surely die. I know that I'm not much to give, God and I. It's only for His love that I have my life to live. Jesus has changed me, not the same, not the same. No, yeah. Jesus has changed me, not the same. Remember who you are. Remember who you are.
Hi, this is Mark Ryder, and you're listening to the Sound and Spirit Artist Link Extra, featuring an in-depth look into the lives and music of today's top contemporary Christian artists. Our special guest is one of Christian music's most talented female vocalists. I'm talking about Krystal Lewis, Myrrh recording artist. Krystal, it's good to have you on the show. And of course, first thing we want to ask you is, how did you get this huge voice, this great singing talent that you have? Tell us the story.
I think the first time I sang on stage, I was 4. And my mom says she dragged me onto the stage because I loved doing it at home. And all of a sudden, I got stage fright and made me do it. And I was so mad. And then she said, of course, she couldn't get me off the stage after that. So, it was one of those strange things. But, I grew up in my dad's church and grew up singing, of course, there. And my mom is an absolutely fantastic musician. And her influence musically has a great deal to do with who I am and what I do, I guess.
Let's talk about your new album, Gold. It is so good, and I think every one of your albums gets better and better, musically, lyrically. I don't know how you do it. Can you give us some contrast from this album as opposed to previous projects you've released?
Let's see. Musically, I don't think it's all that different from the last record, other than it's, I don't know, some of it maybe is different because we used some different players, some amazing players, which I sat in the room with Nathan East while he played on all but I think 2 songs on this record, and I just sat there like I couldn't stop smiling. I was just giddy. I mean, I was so excited because we have seen Foreplay live, which is the band he's in, and he has done a lot of things with Anita Baker and things like that, who I so admire, and it was just, we were just like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. And then Abe Laboriel Sr. is a fantastic bass player as well, and he played on Beauty for Ashes. But his son, Abe Jr., played all the drums on this record, all but a couple songs. And that inspired me creatively, because I hadn't done any vocals yet, other than some little scratch things. And to watch him play was something that, it was so great to be able to sit in the studio and listen to what these musicians contributed creatively to the project, and know that for some of them, at least for Abe Jr. for sure, at least he pulled it off. I don't know if he meant it this way or what, but I mean, you just watch him. This is not a job to him. This is like, he loves this. He loves what he is doing. And that was like, for me, very, very inspiring because he's really fantastic. As far as the content lyrically of the record, the title was taken from a passage of scripture in Job chapter 23, verse 10, I believe. And it says, he knows the way that I take, and when he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. And I just loved that passage. And of course, we had also, about the same time, decided on doing the title song, Gold, and which was written by my brother-in-law, Krystal. And it was such an interesting concept for the song, being about single motherhood and how devastating that can be, and that song really frames the whole album, really, because it says all your trials, all your heartaches, all your sorrows, all your pain are gold. And this album is largely about faith. It's largely about the fact that we believe, though we don't understand and though we don't see the God that we say we know, but still we believe.
Let's go ahead and get into some music. We're going to play the song Lord I Believe. Why don't you tell us about that song?
Sure. That song, the song Lord I Believe in You, was done at one of the Harvest Crusades that I did last year or so. And one of the guys that's been doing the worship for those, his name's Tommy Walker, and he lives in LA. He's a worship leader at a church up in Pasadena. And he wrote the song, and actually the first time I heard it was a friend of mine who's in the praise band that has done the Harvest Crusades with me for years, came to our church and sang it. And my husband Brian leaned over to me and he just said, "We are doing that song. That is a great song." And so it just turned out to be the perfect summary for the album, dealing with faith. And I mean, the lyrics say, "Though we can't see you with our eyes, and your throne seems so far away, yet I'm filled with an inexpressible joy." And the chorus goes on to say, no one can take this joy away, and that's almost directly out of 1 Peter. And I share that almost every night on the tour. We close with Lord I Believe in You, and that's come to mean so much to me.
Though I can't see your holy face and your throne in heaven above, it seems so far away. Though I can't touch your nail-scarred hands, I have a deep, unspeakable joy that makes my faith to stand. Lord, I believe in you. I'll always believe in you. Though I can't see you with my eyes, deep in my heart, your presence I find. Lord, I believe in you, and I'll keep my trust in you. Let the whole world say what they may, no one can take this joy.
You're listening to the Sound and Spirit Artist Link Extra. Our special guest is Krystal Lewis. Krystal, tell us, are you a people person?
Oh, yes and no. It depends. It's probably my favorite thing to do is stay home. That's probably my favorite thing to do. But then there's times where, I want to break from that, and it's hard because I travel so much that when I come home, I just want to be at home. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to stay home, and then, on the same token, at the exact same time, the first thing I want to do when I come home is go to the mall, because there is no shopping like the shopping at my house. And so, I want to get back into the swing of all my little friends at the mall.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's a good thing. You come home from being on the road, and once you get in the house, you decide, hey, I want to go do something.
Exactly. And I really do have an incredibly great group of core group of friends at home that I know are praying for me, that I know are my friends regardless of how long I'm gone and what I'm doing. I know that they know me. And when other people say, oh, Krystal's too busy or whatever, they say, no, you don't understand. This is her life and what God has called her to, and it's okay.
Yeah, that's good. I was just thinking a few minutes ago about how you said sometimes you go good with people and other times you don't. It made me wonder if it's easier for you to communicate to everybody through your music as opposed to just like one-on-one with someone. How does that work with you?
It's much easier for me to communicate in song and in word from stage than it would be for me to communicate one-on-one. I don't know why that seems awfully strange to most people, that it'd be easier for me to share my heart, whatever it is I'm dealing with in front of a bunch of people I don't know, instead of like just to my husband or my dad or, something. But it is.
Right, I understand. Krystal, let's talk about this for a moment. You sing, I assume, because, you love the Lord, because you're a Christian, because you were raised in church, because you love music, all that. How does that fit into your life?
I think it's just a combination of everything, of my heritage, coming from a really rich background of pastors and grandpas being pastors and things like that. And I just think I don't really think I can hold down a normal job. I mean, I don't think I could do it. I think Brian and I both, we were just made for each other. We love to create, and, I think it's, every night we open the show with God's Been Good to Me, and I sing it, I've sung that song 100 stinking times, and yet I sing it and I realize, yeah, he has. What a spoiled little brat I am to be able to do what I love, and bring my family with me, and it's almost unfair, but, I'm not complaining.
We're going to go ahead and play another song from your album Gold called For Such a Time as This. Krystal, go ahead and let us know what that song means to you.
That song was written by a dear friend of mine, Annie Barber. She wrote Lion and the Lamb, co-wrote Lion and the Lamb with another guy as well. And so she's just a fantastic writer. She and her husband travel with Franklin Graham a lot, and I wish they were, it's one of those underdog stories where it's like they're better than almost anybody out there vocally. And I just wish I'd give anything for... Actually, they're on Metro One, and we're like, we got to get them signed to a major label because they deserve so much more. But anyway, that song, I sat down with her one day and asked her why she wrote it. And she was scheduled to do a women's retreat, and it was on Esther, and so she sat down, started to write it, and of course the chorus was For Such a Time as This, because that's the big thing that Mordecai says to Esther. And she just got stumped. She got completely stuck, and she didn't finish it for about 6 months, and just left it, and finally came back to it 6 months later, and just was having a quiet time, and was so convicted that she was so comfortable. And the song took a completely different turn than she had originally anticipated. And it says so. It convicted me the first time I heard she and her husband John sing it at a Franklin crusade. And it was just, for me, growing up in the church especially, you can get so comfortable with your own little brand of Christianity and such the like. And I loved the idea of God saying, no, this requires faith, to step out and do something that you're thinking, but you just can't quite get yourself to do. And this is about doing that thing.
I built my house here, alongside this mountain, this rugged mountain that stands so tall. It's more than I'd asked for, but less than I dreamed. I've often heard a voice call down to me. If you'd climb higher, you'd find wondrous things to see. But the way is steep, and a storm may come. For such a time as this, isn't it much too great a risk? I've never flown from the edge of a cliff, never walked on the water. But if I turn away, how will I know what I have missed? Have I waited all of my life for such a time as this?
You're listening to the Sound and Spirit Artist Link Extra. Our special guest is Krystal Lewis. Krystal, do you, how do you identify your music? When I listen to it, I think sort of a pop, gospel, sort of urban dance. I mean, help me. Do you ever think that about your music?
Oh, absolutely. And, I finally come to terms with the fact that it's pop. Like, I hated that word. I mean, that was one of the reasons I didn't want to leave Wild Blue Yonder 10, 11 years ago, was that we were not, we were country rockabilly. And, the last thing, I didn't like pop music. I didn't buy it. I liked Lone Justice, I liked Stevie Ray Vaughan and things like that. And I didn't want to do such a middle of the road thing. But, I've come to realize that it doesn't have to be middle of the road, average anything. It can be whatever you want, And so I like so many different kinds of music, and I think that's why you hear different pieces of different things in what we do, because I guess the general umbrella would definitely be your basic pop, genre, so to speak. But I think that, we love R&B, we love jazz, we love old Motown and things like that. And so little bits and pieces of that creep up here and there.
Let's talk about some of your influences.
Okay, basically my favorite three artists all begin with S. I don't know why. I didn't plan it that way. My favorite, I shouldn't say my favorite, but some of the artists I listen to the very most are Stevie Ray Vaughan, Sting, and Sade. And then, of course, in addition, and those are the three that I've probably listened to the longest, the most, in addition to Aretha Franklin and Chaka Khan and things like that. I've listened to the Winans Brothers, oh man, forever, just since I was in junior high school. And actually met Carvin Winans, one of the brothers, the other day here in Nashville, and I was so starstruck. It was so funny. Hi. I didn't know what to say.
Let's go ahead and play the song God and I. Now, your husband wrote that, so why don't you go ahead and set that up for us somehow?
God and I was written by my husband, Brian, and he just wrote it. He was at home by himself because my children and I were up in Washington visiting my mom and dad, and he faxed the lyrics to me. And my mom felt the need to change most of them, but they wound up going on the record exactly how Brian wrote it. So she really is an incredible musician, and she has had far more training than I can ever even dream of having, and she really is very good. We're on different levels sometimes musically, and so, she just likes to be involved and help out, and things, and it was fine. It didn't, we rarely have friction between us anymore, so it was fine. But I think it was just, Brian was writing, realizing how much he was lacking, and realizing that God was one of the lyrics. I've never sung that song live yet, so, I have shame, and he is glory, and things like that. So he just realized what he was without him.
He is glory.
the Sound and Spirit Artist Link Extra. Our guest is Krystal Lewis. Krystal, tell us, what is one of the biggest things that's ever happened to you in your life?
I don't know if you'll end up keeping this or not. We could do two different ones because I was asked yesterday to do a duet with Kirk Franklin on his next record, and that will be it for me. That will be, if it pans out. If it actually happens, I don't know. But that will definitely be a highlight of my life. I think probably getting to sing at a Billy Graham crusade. I've only sung at one, but I do a lot of Franklin's crusades, and Billy has been at a few of those, and just the sweet nod from a man of God like that is all you need to sustain you, as far as, being starstruck for the rest of your life. Not that you're starstruck when you look at Billy Graham, but there's another kind of awe that comes, from someone like that. So that's probably one of the neatest things that I've ever experienced.
Right. That has to be really, really special for you. We're going to play the song Not the Same, a very big hit for you from your album Gold. Talk about it.
Oh, that's another one of my favorites. That's from Acts chapter 9, talking about being completely converted, as Saul was. And I love where it says something like scales fell from his eyes. And, it was so dramatic, and I love the drama. I just think it's so great. And I was a brat. I was extremely strong-willed. Get my mother in here. She will, confess all of this along with me, that I was just, a little bit difficult to get along with as a teenager. And so that's where the first verse lyrics come from being, I used to be mean and things like that. And even though I grew up in the church, I was able to experience a dramatic conversion, And so that's what that song's about.
About a thing, living for me and all of my needs. I was self-serving yet desperate and hurting in need to be not the same. No, yeah. Jesus has changed me, not the same. No, yeah. Jesus has changed me, not the same. Ooh, it's all for you, all that I am, all that I do. I've given it to life-giving truth. I've come to believe I can be new. You took all my sin, gave peace within, took all my doubt, assured me of him. My knees now, why I live, my life is his.
You're listening to the Sound and Spirit Artist Link Extra. This is Mark Ryder. Our guest is Krystal Lewis. Krystal, let's talk about that some. You mentioned it earlier, working with Franklin Graham and, of course, the Harvest Crusades. What has that been like for you?
Harvest Crusades I've been a part of for, I believe this year's my 8th year. We used to attend Greg Laurie's church, and I don't know how it happened, but somehow I got booked to sing there one Sunday night, and sang and said, "We've been attending your church for like a year." You're kidding. And we had never met anyone. And so the following summer, they were putting on, it was only their second year of the crusade, and there was a few of us kind of in, we said, heavy rotation, that we did Greg's church and then a couple of others. And it was like Roby Duke and me and Chuck Girard and Benny Hester and Jamie Owens Collins and things like that. So it was, a real early group. I was by far the youngest member of the little team there. But it was so much fun, and I've been doing it every year since, and basically part of the team in many ways. And it's the most phenomenal thing I do every year. I mean, I love it. It's a team of people. We really are there collectively for one purpose, and it's not about any of us specifically, and it's very obvious. Lou Graham is a recent performer, that has been coming to the last couple years and singing, who I don't know, some of you may or may not know, was the lead singer of Foreigner, and he's just the greatest. He's so cool, really right-on believer, and it's been great to get to work with him as well.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about the song Remember Who You Are.
My father used to always say that to me as I would leave my house, go to school, go on a date, go out with my friends, whatever. Remember who you are was his big thing. And it didn't really need any explanation. He never explained to me what he meant. I just knew that he meant, don't forget who you're representing, don't forget who you say you are, and make sure you live up to that, And so I wrote a song about it because I now tell that to my children, and it came out. It was totally unintentional. I wasn't thinking, I'm going to use this on my kids. It just, remember who you are. And I thought, oh, that's what my dad says to me. It was just, he still says it to me to this day. But I just wanted to, that was a legacy I feel that he left for me. And I want to leave that for my kids, that they know that I care about who they are, and I care about the fact that I want them to know who they are. And that's far more important than what the world thinks they are.
My daddy always told me that his mama always said, no matter what you become in this life, whether big or small, in the eyes of men, remember who you are. In the eyes of God, remember who you are. In Jesus, He sees you as His own. It pleases Him to know that you remember who you are. In Jesus, it's His name you wear. My child, remember who you are. I am giving you now this legacy of love. The greatest gift that I can give you is to pray. That's whether big or small, in the eyes of men, you remember who you are. In the eyes of God, remember who you are.
You're listening to the Sound and Spirit Artist Link Extra. Our special guest, Krystal Lewis. Okay, Krystal, what's up for this next year for you? Can you look into the future some and tell us?
I'll be here at GMA, yes, once again. I don't know. I really want to do a children's album. One of my best friends is writing a children's book, and I really want to do an album that goes along with that book at some point. I'd love to do a Christmas album. I don't know. There's all kinds of things I'd love to do, and I'm not in any hurry to do them. I'm anxious to see my kids learn, get excited about learning. I'm anxious to see them boogie woogie. Excuse me. I'm anxious to see them mature just a bit. Okay, go out and stand by Jackie, please. So I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I'm not anxious to get there. I'm very content where we are and happy to boogie woogie. Happy to do a little boogie woogie right here.
Well, Krystal, thanks for being on the show with us today on the Sound and Spirit Artist Link Extra. Of course, we've enjoyed getting to know you a little better and listening to some of our favorite Krystal Lewis songs.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure. And I'm going to let my son Solomon say goodbye.
A boogie woogie.
Not boogie woogie. Goodbye.
Boogie woogie.
This is Mark Ryder. Thanks for listening.